There's another question. In fact, there were a couple on here about the ancient pathways. So I'm going to talk about experiencing the ancient pathways. Because as I'm reading down this list, there are several requests. How can I gain access to my own scroll to know what's written on my own scroll? And like I said before, I'm very experiential and I can tell you what happened with my scroll, but I can't give you the technology of how to attain to the information on your own scroll. But let's just talk for a second about the ancient pathways. There were 11 times in my spiritual ascensions when I was carried into this place that was this huge, magnificent doorway. And this doorway was, I mean, I'm using earthly terms, but of course it goes above and beyond words. This doorway was like 10 stories of solid gold, and it was a double door. And each one of the openers on the door were held by these two giant angels who were also 10 stories high. And whenever I came up to these doors, the angels opened up the doors, and I was standing on a balcony overlooking the universe. And I'm just totally enraptured by the beauty of everything I'm looking at it. And then all of a sudden, there comes to light this picture. And this picture is something that I can equate to like a cartoon caricature of a sunrise. What that means is it has a flat line here, and off of that line are 7 shots of lines going off in 7 different directions, and they're all brilliant gold, and they're like shimmering like gold. And I asked the angel, what are these? It looked like a sunrise or the right like you would see in a cartoon when a sun is going up or a sun is coming down and you just see the flat line and all the rays of the sun. And they said, well, these are the 7 ancient pathways. When they said that, I got so excited because I've been wanting to walk on the 7 ancient pathways, but I didn't know they were real. I took a flying leap to jump off of this balcony, and the one angel grabbed me by the neck and pulled me back. And he said, now is not the time. You cannot access these pathways right now. We just wanted you to see the 7 ancient pathways. Okay, so what are the 7 ancient pathways? Well, there's the path of wisdom, the path of knowledge, the path of understanding, the path of counsel, the path of might, the path of the Spirit of the Lord, the path of revelation. Whoa! So the 7 spirits that are before the throne are not only spirits, they're also the opening up to the ancient pathways and the ancient mysteries. 11 times during the next several years, I would come to that place again, and always they would open the doors. There would be the 10 angels, and they would allow me to look and see the 7 ancient pathways, but they would not allow me to step on it. When I received an invitation for the first time to come and do a conference for Dr. O, I had never met Dr. O, and I was very, very excited because I heard he was like one of the greatest teachers in the whole world, one of the greatest teachers in the whole world. So I'm very, very excited. And I found out that he mentors and disciples people every day on Zoom on the internet. But when he found out I was coming, he canceled all of his appointments just so we could sit down and have a conversation. And I go, oh, this is just going to be so good. I was just so excited. I couldn't wait. But I got into the airport late at night, and his PA took me to the hotel. I checked into the hotel, got into bed all full of this excitement about what the next day was going to hold. And I laid down and went to sleep. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden, this light being appeared in my room. Now, I don't know how I knew who she was, but I looked at her and I said, Pleiadia, what are you doing here? And she began to motion for me to come with her. Well, now my soul starts speaking out. If I go with her, I might not get back in time for my appointment with Dr. O, but she kept motioning, kept smiling, come on, come on. And finally she went out. So I took her hand, and the next thing I know, I'm standing at the 10-story high golden doors, but now there's no angels there. She looks at the doors and she points at them like this, and the doors open up, and I'm standing on the balcony, and she goes like this, like, have at it. And I started to jump, but when I started to jump, oh my gosh, all the pathways had disappeared and there were no pathways. And all I could think of was, if I jump off of here, I might be floating in the universe forever. And how am I ever going to get back? And she heard me telepathically, and she goes, I guess you're looking for the ancient pathways, huh? And she's not speaking English. She's communicating through the frequency of her thoughts. And I said, yes. And she holds out her arms like this in a round circle, and a basket appears in her arms full of gold dust. And in this basket, there's this crystal ladle. And she takes this crystalline ladle and scoops up the gold and throws it out into the universe until it begins to trickle down until I could barely see the edges of the ancient pathways. And she put out her hand and said, go. Now, my spirit and my soul can operate separately. So my soul is back in my bedroom saying, if you take this step, you're going to miss your meeting with Dr. O. So I took my phone and punched auto dial. I called his PA and I said, look, I think I might be missing my appointment with Dr. O this morning. Please tell him I'm sorry, but I'll explain when I get there. And away I went. That encounter on the ancient pathways lasted almost 24 hours of Earth time. And by the time I came back to myself in my bedroom, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The things that were infused in me during that particular time were like I'm still, after years, trying to process half of what happened there. But anyway, I wake up in my room and I'm going, oh my goodness, Dr. O canceled all of his appointments just so he could spend time with me today. And then I don't even show up. This is like so unacceptable. So I called his PA and I said, look, I'm going to jump in the shower. Maybe we can still get together for dinner. Could you just pick me up? And he takes me to Dr. O's office. And I'm telling you, I wanted to crawl on my hands and knees, begging for his forgiveness because he gave up his whole day just to spend with me, and then I stand him up. I walked in and I sat down and I said, Dr. O, I am so sorry, but please let me share with you what happened. And I said, at 3 o'clock in the morning, this light being showed up. And I said, I don't even know how I knew that her name was Pleiadia. And he sits bolt upright in his chair and he goes, you had an encounter with Pleiadia? And I said, yes. And he goes, did she take you to the double golden doors? Yes. Did she give you access to the 7 ancient pathways? Yes. Did she throw gold out the door and it filtered down? Yes, yes. And he sat back and laughed and he said, all I can say is, it's a good thing you didn't cancel her appointment with her for this appointment, because if you had, it would have taken you 7 more years to gain access to those ancient pathways. You see, and then I looked at him and I said, so you've had encounters. Where is this in the scripture? It has to be in the scripture somewhere. And he opened up to Job, and sure enough, there it was. He had been having encounters with Pleiada for some time, since he was a little boy, actually. And I thought, Lord, he was 3 years old, and I'm 68 or whatever I was then. What's that all about? He said our scrolls were uniquely configured for that to come to pass. So, in saying all of that, I want to say, in answer to the one person who asked if we have out of body experiences, how can we expedite that? When I laid down in bed that night, I had no concept of anything that was going to happen. I wasn't crying out from the depths of my being, I want an out of body experience. When he came to instill in me the understanding of the restoration of all things, I didn't cry out for that. He just picked me up and took me there. So for me, everything in the invisible realm becomes experiential. The value to bringing me and Justin both together is he can make charts and he can make diagrams and he can show you how time does this and time does that. Me, I don't know all of that. All I do is I just surrender and just go where he says go, do what he says do, say what he says to say. And somehow or another, the Lord works it all out. The reason why we need one another is because each one of us carries an infinitely important part. When I first met Yana, she would say a simple sentence that probably wouldn't mean anything to anybody else, but all of a sudden it's like a bomb going off inside of me, and I go, oh my gosh, that's what happened when I did this and this and this and this. Or she would make allusion to the Kabbalah. And I would think to myself, I have been walking in a Merkaba since I was little, but I had no idea what it meant until somebody comes to release the technology and the understanding. So God operates with us differently, each one. Many of us, like Yana's an academic. She studies these things to the nth degree, and God gives her a supernatural level to be able to communicate these principles to other people. Me, how I communicate is through experience because I've experienced a lot. And in fact, hopefully next month I'm going to go back to finishing my second book because there are experiences that I've never shared with anybody that the Lord is going to have me write down in that book. And those experiences are what ignite people's hearts into fire and fill them full of the desire to want that same thing inside of their own life. So how we function together and separately is a little bit different. Hi, I'm Nancy. I just want to thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, like and subscribe our YouTube channel. And if you're interested in lengthy, deeper teachings concerning the mysteries of God, contact us at sons.global and partner with us as we become co-workers and co-creators together with God for the establishment of His kingdom and His righteousness in all the earth.